Today we're going to talk about pre-colonial India and Southeast Asia. We're going to look a lot at religion and governments today because the religions of this area really influence the governments pretty significantly. There's going to be a lot of blending of those two elements in regards to cultures as well. All right, here we go. Buddhism was very popular in early India. There's two main groups, two subgroups, I guess, of Buddhism. There's the Theravada, and they saw Buddhism simply as a way of life, not necessarily a religion that was centered on salvation. But they believed that understanding oneself was the chief way to gain nirvana. And then you have the Mahayana, who stressed that nirvana was achieved through devotion to the Buddha. So they believe Buddhism was much more of a religion, okay? And they believe that nirvana was a true heaven. But neither sect really remained popular in India. Hinduism obviously is going to be the largest religion in India, but Islam is also spreading throughout India at the time. So neither sect really becomes very popular in India in particular, but it will spread throughout the rest of Asia. So in the 8th century, Islam became very popular. It arrived at a time of political disunity. It was right when the Gupta Empire was collapsing. So India's states were warring with each other, and so this kind of, when Islam came, it kind of presented an opportunity to change things up. You know what I'm saying? So the 10th century, Turkish slaves founded an Islamic empire in Ghazni, which is present-day Afghanistan. So Mahmud of Ghazni, who was the first leader, that's him on the top there, he attacked the neighboring Hindu kingdoms and greatly expanded his state. So the Rajputs, who are the Hindu warriors, that's an example over on the right, fought Mahmud in the north, and Mahmud destroyed them. In 1200, Muslim power was spread over North India, and they created a new Muslim state known as the Sultanate of Delhi. In the late 14th century, the Sultanate began to decline. This happened when Timur Lenk, who was the Mongol leader, expanded into India, and he expanded all the way down into Mesopotamia, Persia, the Caspian Sea, and the Pamir Mountains. So you can see on this map, the top map there, just the extent of where he went. But 1405, he dies. Okay, and so a new nomadic tribe arose and threatened India, and these guys were known as the Mughals. So the Portuguese were also beginning to arrive, and they were looking for golden spices. Now, the thing is about the Portuguese is when they come through, they're not looking to conquer. Okay, they're looking to set up trading posts, and they're wanting to trade. Okay, so they're not looking necessarily to conquer. So the Muslims were really intolerant of other religions. They generally used peaceful means to get people to convert, but not always. But they did impose Muslim customs on the Hindus, and the Hindus really disliked this. So hatred and violence between Hindus and Muslims have plagued India and still continue to this day. For example, in 1992, a mob of Hindu militants sacked a Muslim mosque in northern India. That's what that picture is representing there. Now, it was built centuries ago, but it was built on a Hindu sacred site. So when they attacked it, they believed they were protecting that sacred site. Southeast Asia. Talking geography first, the geographical location of Southeast Asia is in two parts, really. It's in the Malay Peninsula, okay, which is right here, and then the archipelago of Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, okay? An archipelago is a chain of islands, okay? So it makes up Indonesia and the Philippines. Malaysia starts with the Malay Peninsula and then goes into Borneo here, okay? But anyway, ancient mariners called the area the Golden Islands. But Southeast Asia never really unified under a single government, and a lot of that had to kind of do with the nature of Southeast Asia being islands. So it was difficult. It was more difficult to travel from place to place. So they became kind of isolated. So they kind of became a melting pot of cultures as a result. So people are cut off from others due to geography, like I just said. But they developed distinct cultures, religious practices, and languages in this area. Vietnam, so Vietnam was originally ruled by China, but they overthrew them in the 10th century. So Vietnam is this country right here. Okay, it goes right along the coast here, and they remained influenced by China. So they did things like they adopted Confucianism, the Chinese court rituals, the civil service examination that we talked about when we talked about China, and they called themselves Dai Viet. Okay, it means Great Viet. And they developed a strong central government, also modeled after China. So they adopted the idea of like an emperor and a strong bureaucracy. In Angkor, so 9th century, the kingdom of Angkor arose. It's in present day Cambodia. But the powerful leader Jayavarman united the Khmer people, and they faced enemies on all sides. And they eventually were taken over by the Thai in 1432. And then Thailand, they lived in the frontier of China, and they took over Angkor, like I just said. You could see the empire there over on the right. But they converted to Buddhism and borrowed a lot of Indian political practices. And so they even gave it their own unique blend, which has become the basis of the culture of Thailand. So this is Angkor Wat. This is a Hindu temple, and this is in Cambodia. This is the largest religious monument in the world. Okay, so this is obviously a major tourist attraction, and it is a pretty impressive building once you look at the architecture and that of it. Burma, so the Thai were threatened from the west by the Burman people, and so the Burman people migrated from Tibet. So on this map, this is where Tibet is right here. Okay, and then so they migrated into what is present day Thailand, or what is present day Myanmar, I'm sorry, and it became known as Burma. So they were pastoral nomads, and they adopted farming in Southeast Asia, but they converted to Buddhism as well and adopted Indian government practices, and they were very active in the sea trade all throughout the region. You can see that they have a lot of coastline here, and in this area, and so they were very active in the sea trade. The Malay world. So, in the Malay Peninsula and the Indonesian archipelago, a different pattern started to emerge. Now, they did not unite under a single ruler. So, like we saw in, well, like we see in the mainland there, but peoples lived in several different communities. And like I said before, that had a lot to do with geography. So two kingdoms finally emerged. In the 8th century, Srivaja dominated the trade through the Strait of Malacca, and then Sailendra emerged in eastern Java. And then in the late 13th century, the kingdom of Majapahit was formed, and they controlled most of the archipelago that makes up Indonesia. And in the 15th century, the Islamist state of Malacca began to form, and they became the area's major trading posts, and almost the whole region had converted to Islam. So today, the largest Islamic nation, when we're talking population, is Indonesia. All right, and that's all I got for you guys today. Don't forget to complete your processor and enjoy the rest of your day.